The story begins at a gacha shop. A girl who works as the shopkeeper welcomes Jinta-sama, the gacha destroyer. She says that this time, it won't be like usual. Jinta replies that it sounds interesting and that he will hit it in one shot. Jinta mentions the special SSSR prize. The scene shifts to heaven in the celestial garden. While a boy is observing himself, he is sitting on a chair. A girl mentions that Kazami Jinta, age 24, died in an accident while traveling. The girl confirms once again if that is true. Jinta, seeing a beautiful blonde girl with blue eyes across from him, becomes confused and wants to ask who is there. The girl introduces herself as Lafa, a goddess from the division of life and death. Lifa tells Jinta that this is the place to determine the path of his death. She gives Jinta the choice to go to heaven, be reborn in the same world, or reincarnate in another world. Jinta then understands what Lifa is saying. Lifa, looking at Kazami Jinta's biodata, says it's a shame that Jinta died because of such a thing. Jinta, hearing this, starts thinking about something. He then shouts very loudly. This surprises and confuses Lifa. Lifa asks why Jinta is posing like that, to which Jinta replies that he no longer has to work. He says this is great because he doesn't have to work hard for bosses anymore, which makes Lifa understand and asks Jinta not to shout so loudly as it embarrasses her. Jinta then apologizes, and Lifa says that she is having a difficult day. Lifa then tells Jinta that his path will be decided as going to heaven, which confuses Jinta. He asks if he will be sent to heaven, and Lifa confirms it. But Jinta says he wants to reincarnate in another world, as he mentioned earlier. Lifa asks what Jinta wants to do in another world. Jinta then approaches Lifa's face and says something, which surprises and flusters Lifa. Jinta says he will go to another world to meet beautiful girls and form a harem. Jinta, seeing Lifa annoyed, tells her that it's not just that. Jinta says he will gain status, honor, money, and everything he desires that he couldn't achieve before, and that is all he wants to obtain. After hearing this, Lifa laughs at Jinta very happily. Lifa says he probably can't do that, but Jinta says he has seen it in novels and tells her there is an option to go to another world. Lifa says no, and that she doesn't even know what Jinta will reincarnate as. She tells Jinta that ordinary people like him might reincarnate as a single sheet of tissue, which astonishes Jinta. Lifa tells him she doesn't know what novels are, and if it's just imagination, they will go straight to heaven, which annoys Jinta. Lifa says she doesn't have much time, and Jinta, feeling annoyed, suddenly jumps. He says not to laugh at every man's dream. This makes everyone start paying attention to them. Lifa tells him to stop and asks what Jinta is doing. While holding Lifa's hand, Jinta says he wants to reincarnate in another world, to which Lifa replies, it's impossible. Jinta then says if Lifa doesn't do what he wants, he will squeeze her chest, which makes Lifa panic and blush. Lifa tells him to wait and says she isn't playing around with Jinta. She tells Jinta that forcing someone destined for heaven to reincarnate would be a big problem. But Jinta says it's fine if he squeezes Lifa's chest, to which Lifa replies that her chest is not the goal. Seeing the Otherworld reincarnation button, Jinta tells Lifa to press it immediately, but Lifa says it's impossible. After hearing her refusal, Jinta is about to squeeze Lifa's chest. However, Jinta is shocked after seeing Lifa's chest, which makes Lifa wonder what's wrong. Jinta, looking at Lifa's chest, says that her chest is non-existent. Lifa falls silent upon hearing this. Jinta gets annoyed and starts looking for the goddess. A goddess who is so beautiful and has a large chest is what Jinta imagines. Jinta glances left and right to find the goddess. He says he won't find her if he doesn't look. Lifa then rebels and shouts that it's not small and calls Jinta stupid, to which Jinta tells her not to act wild. Accidentally, the Otherworld reincarnation button is pressed. This makes Lifa and Jinta fall silent for a moment as they look at it. Suddenly, a teleportation circle appears. Jinta falls silent while looking at it, while Lifa is shocked. A status window then appears. A machine sound is heard. Jinta feels happy seeing the status window, but Lifa, still shocked, says it's impossible. It is announced that reincarnation in another world has begun. Jinta and Lifa then float and are about to be sent to another world. Jinta feels happy knowing he will reincarnate in another world, while Lifa feels confused. It appears that Kazami Jinta's status window shows a luck stat of 99999999. It appears that the weather in the sky is very clear. Suddenly, a beam of light emerges from the sky and strikes the ground. A voice is heard saying something. The person speaking is Jinta, and he says that the method of transfer is too rough. Jinta then looks up at the sky. He sees a creature flying in the sky. He is shocked to realize that he is now in another world. He says that he has successfully reincarnated in another world. Jinta wonders if it's okay to reincarnate like this, as his memories and body still look the same. Jinta feels that something is strange. He is startled when he sees a goblin. He thinks that he might have killed it when he fell from the sky. Jinta then notices a silver stone and decides to keep it because it looks very beautiful to him. He then plans to check the status window to see what his abilities are like. He thinks that there is no goddess around to ask about his condition. Jinta then wonders if there is something wrong with the numbers in his status window. He looks up because he hears someone shouting. Jinta sees a pair of underwear. It turns out that a girl has suddenly fallen from the sky. The girl crashes into Jinta hard, landing on the ground. The girl feels pain. The girl is Lifa, and she wonders what has happened to her. As Lifa tries to get up and realizes she is sitting on Jinta, Jinta says light blue, which confuses Lifa. But Lifa is shocked when she realizes and quickly covers her skirt, and Jinta asks if Lifa came here because she was worried about him. Lifa replies that it's not true and that she got involved in this because of Jinta. Jinta then asks if Lifa can return. Lifa replies that she feels strange and cannot reach heaven. She has tried to contact the people there many times, but she cannot connect with anyone, and this has never happened before. Jinta tells Lifa that it might be a bug because he was forced to reincarnate, which confuses Lifa as she asks what a bug is. Jinta then shows his status window, pointing out that something is strange, and says that his luck stat has a value of 999,999, which Lifa finds impossible because the maximum stat should be 99. But Lifa says that Jinta's stats should be those of an ordinary human. Lifa then moves closer to Jinta's face and stares at him. It turns out that Lifa is trying to see Jinta's status window, but she cannot see it. Jinta is confused and says that a goddess should be able to see the status window. He suggests that it might also be a bug. Lifa and Jinta, staring at each other, fall silent for a moment. Lifa shouts, asking what a bug is and how she can return home, to which Jinta replies that it might not be possible. Lifa then cries and says that it's because Jinta forced her to press the reincarnation button. Jinta thinks that he has forced a goddess and admits that it's his fault, then tells her not to cry. Jinta apologizes to Lifa, saying he never intended to involve her in all of this. He thinks that this is bad and sees Liafa angry there. Lifa then says it's okay, but Jinta asks Liafa what she plans to do now. Liafa replies that she will wait for help from heaven, and until that time comes, she just needs to stay somewhere. Lifa states that Jinta has an ambition to create a harem in this world, and Lifa hopes that Jinta will like that idea. Jinta then thinks about something. Jinta asks Lifa if she wants to come with him, which leaves Lifa silent. Jinta says that he has caused trouble for the goddess, and because of that, he wants to apologize to Lifa. After Lifa hears this from Jinta, she agrees and says that if Jinta goes with her, he might be able to return to heaven with her. But Lifa then falls silent upon hearing this. Jinta says that leaving a crying girl behind is not part of his ambitions at the moment. Lifa, blushing, says that she is not crying, but Lifa doesn't mind it. She then says that she will help Jinta a little. This makes Lifa curious about what made Jinta apologize. And in the end, Lifa joins Jinta's party. When Jinta was in another world with Liafa, Jinta told Lifa to call him Jinta. This made Lifa happy, and she said that Jinta could also call her Lifa. And Lifa mentioned one more thing. She said that being around her, even for a short while, was very fortunate for Jinta, which made Jinta ask why. He asked if it was because Lifa was cute, and upon hearing this, Lifa fell silent. She blushed and said that she didn't mean it like that. Lifa meant to say that she was knowledgeable about many things in this world, whether it was geography, landscapes, or the creatures living in this world, as well as common sense or difficult knowledge. Lifa knew everything. Lifa then pointed out that over there was a small town called Hohin, and suggested they try going there first. This made Jinta say that Lifa was truly knowledgeable, to which Lifa replied, "Of course," and added that she was a goddess after all, telling Jinta to ask her anything he wanted to know. Jinta then remembered something. He said there was something he wanted to ask the beautiful goddess Lafa-chan, and it was about something he had picked up, which made Lafa feel like she was being teased by Jinta. Jinta then took out a small object and asked if Lafa knew anything about it. When Lifa tried to look at it, she said it was a magic crystal called a core. Monsters dropped it from time to time, and its quality could be determined by its color. After examining it carefully once more, Lifa was shocked and said it was silver-colored, which was incredible, and she asked where Jinta had found it. Jinta replied that he had just found it under a goblin he had accidentally killed. Jinta asked if silver was rare, to which Lifa confirmed it was. Lifa told Jinta that the silver core was ranked second from the top, and if Jinta sold it, the price wouldn't be below 100,000 rin. So it should be around 100,000 rin. And Lifa said, "Good job, Jinta." Jinta said he still hadn't fully grasped the feeling, and Lifa meant that it was incredible and told him to be grateful for his luck. She added that usually, someone would have to lock themselves in a dungeon for months just to find one core. And Jinta shouldn't normally find 100,000 rin lying around on the street. Jinta said if he had that much money, Lifa wouldn't need to camp. Lifa then fell silent and asked if Jinta was sure about that, to which Jinta replied, "Of course." Jinta said he still hadn't repaid Lifa and that he should at least take care of it. After hearing that, Lifa thanked Jinta with a smile. Jinta blushed slightly and said they should head to the town, but Lifa stopped him. She told him to store the core in the item box and that she would teach him how to use it. After they arrived at the town gate, Lifa said they had finally arrived. She then told Jinta that this was the town of Hohin. The town of Hohin had a very peaceful atmosphere. Jinta said the town had a wonderfully exotic feel and was much livelier than he had imagined. After they sold the core, Jinta felt happy because they had successfully sold it. The price was indeed 100,000 rin, just as Lifa had said, and Lifa claimed that she was, of course, the greatest. Jinta felt lucky that he had picked up the core. Lifa asked if Jinta hadn't bought anything else that could be sold, to which Jinta replied no, and jokingly said maybe just Lifa's underwear. Jinta then said they should look for a place to stay, but Lifa, feeling annoyed, asked what Jinta had just said. Suddenly, they heard someone shouting. It turned out to be a married couple arguing about money. Jinta asked Lifa what that was, and Lifa explained it was a gacha item. Lifa told him that gacha items were a form of gambling. A machine contained many cores, and someone could draw one. Depending on the color of the core, they could exchange it for various prizes, but they wouldn't know which core would come out. Jinta interpreted this as meaning whatever they got depended on their luck, which Lifa confirmed, and that's why it was called a gacha item. Among the prizes were many luxurious items, but most of the gacha items were junk. Jinta asked if anyone ever actually won something, to which Lifa replied that some did, but the chances were very low. She said someone would have to be extremely lucky to be one of them. Jinta then smiled after thinking of something, and said that as long as someone was lucky, they could win something. The door then opened. Lifa, looking panicked, asked if Jinta was sure about this, to which Jinta replied that he just wanted to try it once. Jinta, knowing the price for one try was 1,000 rin, was told by Lafa that he couldn't do it, as he would only get junk. She warned him that gacha items were highly addictive and the most dangerous gamble in this world. Jinta said he would be fine and told Lifa to just trust him. Lifa then asked why Jinta was so confident. Jinta replied that he had a goddess with him. Some people behind them laughed at Jinta for talking about a goddess. Jinta then said he wanted to try it once, but the shop girl told him that if he paid 10,000 rin, he could try 11 times, and asked if one try was really enough. A man then approached Jinta and said that if he were in his place, he would pay 10,000 rin. Others behind him agreed, saying Jinta would end up trying multiple times anyway. Lifa then held Jinta's hand, looking very worried. However, Jinta said no. He said he would only try it once. The shop girl understood. Others began shaking their heads, but Jinta thought that if he was as lucky as Lifa had previously said, then one try would prove everything. Jinta then attempted the gacha. And when the gacha item was successfully drawn by Jinta, considering that in the status window, Jinta's luck stat was 999,999, Jinta, who was trying to open the gacha item, saw it shining brightly. This shocked everyone who saw it. including Lifa, who was also stunned. The shop girl then rang a bell and announced that a special prize had been won. Jinta felt happy because he had succeeded in getting it. Everyone who saw it thought it was impossible. Lifa said it was a rainbow core, the rarest of all cores, and asked if this was real. Jinta replied that he had told her to leave it to him. The shop girl congratulated Jinta and told him that the prize for drawing a rainbow core was a special sword called Leviatane. In the end, Jinta obtained a powerful weapon. In a bar, there was a rumor spreading. The rumor said that someone had won the Leviatane sword. Some people said they had been targeting the Leviatane sword for years. If someone possessed that sword, defeating the giant would be very easy. Lifa realized that she and Jinta were the talk of the town. Jinta, who was checking the Leviatane sword's status, said that this sword was very good and that it was a special prize no matter what. Seeing that the sword's rank was SSSR, Lifa told him that it was the rarest of them all. Jinta could sell it for hundreds of millions, which shocked him when he heard it. But Jinta said no, it would be a waste if he sold the Leviatane sword, and Lifa asked if he didn't want to sell it. He was told that the sword was used by a previous hero to slay the Demon King, and after that, no one could use it, so it just wandered the world. However, according to Lifa, Jinta wouldn't be able to wield the sword. But Jinta said they would never know unless they tried. Jinta would think about what to do with the sword if he couldn't use it after trying. Lifa told him that there were robbers targeting the prize winner, so selling it would be the wiser choice. Someone approached them and thanked them for waiting. A bar waitress came and brought them a dessert called Ice Pinago. This made Lifa happy because she had been waiting. Jinta asked if Lifa liked it, to which Lifa answered yes. At night in an inn, Lifa, feeling happy, said she was full, and Jinta said the food here was delicious. Lifa then said something. She said she hadn't been able to contact heaven since that time, and she felt she had to stay here for a while. Lifa then asked Jinta what his plans were, wondering if he would become an adventurer. Jinta, thinking about adventurers who defeat monsters, hunt, and seek treasure, felt it was the fastest way to raise his rank. Lifa said the risks were quite high, but Jinta would accept those risks. After all, it was the ambition he had. Lifa, having heard that, she then sat down and told Jinta to stay calm because as long as Lifa was there, no danger would befall them. For Jinta to live in this world, Lifa would teach him everything she knew about it. Lifa declared that she was level 999 and the strongest goddess. Lifa was confused by Jinta's reaction. It turned out Jinta was looking at Lifa's status window, which was comparable to a goblin from earlier that day. This shocked Lifa, and she said it was impossible. She then fell off the bed and hit her head against the wall. She felt pain. Lifa was baffled as to why she took damage from just one hit. Jinta told her it must be a bug from the force transfer. Lifa looked sulky and said she didn't care anymore. Jinta thought of doing something outside. An innkeeper asked Jinta where he was going at this late hour, to which Jinta replied that he was having trouble sleeping. Jinta thought it was hard to calm himself down with a girl sleeping next to him. He said he would take a walk outside and come back later. Jinta then left the inn. While walking through town, Jinta said he had some free time and would try using the Leviatane sword. He thought he should quickly gain experience as an adventurer too, seeing only a sleeping guard there, and said this made things easier for him. After reaching the outskirts of town, Jinta looked around and said, "This must be a good spot." He then used the item box to retrieve an item. Jinta took out the Leviatane sword, and he said the item box was very practical. Jinta then tried to draw the sword from its sheath, and when he successfully unsheathed the Leviatane sword, the sword looked incredibly cool. Remembering Lifa's words that he couldn't use the sword, but it seemed the Leviatane sword could be wielded by him. Jinta recalled there were several magic skills embedded in the sword. He said he would try using Dark Filament, thinking suddenly fighting a monster was scary. Jinta would start by aiming at a large rock over there. He wasn't sure how to do it, but how about that? Suddenly, a magic circle appeared. Jinta froze after seeing the Leviatane sword unleash its power, and was both shocked and confused by what was happening. Jinta accidentally activated the magic skill called Dark Filament. Jinta was thrown backward after releasing the attack. Seeing the Leviatane sword's power emerge so easily, the attack hit its target perfectly, and Jinta, impressed, felt the magic. Suddenly, a monster roared loudly after being hit by Dark Filament. Jinta saw from a distance that his attack had hit its mark. It seemed the monster was defeated with a single strike from the Levitane's sword. And Jinta, confused, wondered if that wasn't just a large rock. After double-checking, the large rock was actually a monster called Behemoth. The Levitane's sword was amazing for killing a behemoth in one strike. Jinta then noticed something glinting there. He picked up the behemoth's silver core and thought he'd like to know if he could sell the horn and scales for a good price. On his way back to the inn, Jinta realized his body felt sluggish from using the MP for that magic, thinking he should be more careful next time. And Jinta felt like he could sleep soundly thanks to that. Upon entering his room, someone asked where Jinta had been. It was Lifa, and she looked angry as she stared at Jinta. Seeing Lifa shedding tears, Jinta said he went for a walk outside. Lifa then shouted why he left without saying anything. It made her worried. Jinta apologized and thought she had been asleep. He then asked if something happened and saw how worried Lifa was about him. Lifa then said she thought Jinta had left her and gone somewhere. Jinta, hearing that from Lifa, he then asked if Lifa was crying over something like that, which made Lifa blush and say she wasn't crying. Jinta patted Lifa's head and said she was a crybaby, and now she shouldn't worry because he wouldn't leave her, which made Lifa blush and pout, saying she wasn't crying and telling Jinta to stop patting her head. Lifa repeated that she had never cried, and Jinta asked why she wouldn't just admit it. Lifa then grabbed Jinta's clothes and told him not to go out without saying anything again, to which Jinta said he understood and told her to stop pushing him. Jinta then bumped into the bed. He lost his balance and fell onto the bed with Lifa on top of him. This caused Lifa to accidentally kiss Jinta. Both were shocked and blushed at the kiss. Lifa then ended the kiss and blushed deeply. She, flustered, tried to explain that it wasn't what it looked like. Lifa, feeling dizzy, collapsed and ended up fainting after the incident. Jinta, still thinking about what happened, he immediately thought it was time to sleep. Jinta then moved Lifa to the bed next to him, recalling Lifa's words that she thought he had left her and gone somewhere. Jinta thought that Lifa, who had suddenly been dragged along with him and got a bug turning her into level 1, must have been anxious. Time passed, and on a bright morning, it seemed Lifa had woken up. Jinta said good morning to Lifa, who returned the greeting. Lifa felt her memory was hazy and asked if something happened last night after Jinta returned, which made Jinta panic and told them to go wash their faces. They then had breakfast. Lifa said she had decided to help Jinta. She would help him become an adventurer. Lifa didn't know when she could return and was always helped by Jinta, which felt wrong to her. Jinta replied that he didn't mind much, but Lifa said she minded. Lifa wanted to let herself help Jinta. Jinta said Lifa knew a lot about this world, which meant a lot to him. Lifa then told Jinta to show his hand. She then held Jinta's hand. Lifa, smiling, said, "Let's do our best together." After finishing breakfast, Lifa couldn't believe Jinta had defeated a behemoth alone. Behemoths were very strong. Even the famous Crescent Lights Union had failed to hunt one, and it wasn't something Jinta could defeat alone. But after Jinta gave her the behemoth's horn, Lifa was shocked and saw it was indeed a behemoth's horn, wondering if Jinta really defeated it. Jinta told her he used magic from the Levitane's sword. He tried using it on a large rock, and it exploded. Jinta felt he could wield the Levitane's sword without issue. Lifa found it strange because normally the Levitane's sword couldn't be unsheathed, but Jinta said he could draw the sword. Jinta decided he would go sell the horn and other parts, and Lifa would come too. Upon entering the shop to sell the horn, the shopkeeper was shocked Jinta had slain a behemoth, and alone at that. It was almost unbelievable, but the horn and scales were real. The shopkeeper said she couldn't buy them, and Jinta should go to the guild first. She was told if Jinta reported the quest properly, they would give a reward. Lifa realized there was a quest involved. The shopkeeper said she would provide a material appraisal report, and it would help when reporting the quest, so Lifa accepted it and thanked her. Lifa remembered something. Jinta needed to buy a change of clothes, because Jinta's clothes smelled burnt, which surprised Jinta, thinking it might be from the dark filament magic. After a while, Jinta changed into an outfit that looked very cool. The shopkeeper was impressed, saying it suited him well. She was told it was a Universal Guild outfit, the latest trend among young people. Jinta then asked Lifa how he looked. It was his first time wearing something like this, and if he looked strange. Lifa was silent as she looked at Jinta, and the shopkeeper said he looked cool, didn't he? Jinta imagined Lifa laughing at him very happily. But Lifa then said something. She said Jinta looked cool in that outfit. The situation became awkward for a moment, and Jinta thanked Lifa. Seeing the awkwardness between Jinta and Lifa, the shopkeeper said youth was wonderful. Some people were seen outside the shop. They were peering through the window. They seemed to be looking at the Leviathan sword and were plotting something against Jinta and Liefa. After getting new equipment, they went to the city center where there was a fountain. Jinta, who was looking at his status window, saw that his status was quite high and he had 2 magic skills. Lifa said that defeating Behemoth alone was already strange, but that was 10 times the normal statistics of the magic sword, which made Jinta surprised when he heard it. Lifa then held the magic sword and it looked like its status was just ordinary. Jinta said that it was 1/10 of what he got, and if Jinta used it, he would get 10 times the statistics. Lifa then asked why, to which Jinta answered perhaps the luck he possessed had something to do with this. Lifa said that the luck status usually does not affect equipment statistics, but the broken limit of the luck status might have something to do with this phenomenon. Jinta then understood what Lifa meant. What Lifa meant was that it was some sort of bug, and Jinta still did not understand. Lifa then returned the magic sword to Jinta because she felt disgusted when holding it. She then asked what Jinta's plan was after this. Lifa said that she actually had a place she wanted to visit. They then came to a gacha shop and they were greeted by the girl shop assistant very warmly. This made Jinta feel puzzled, and Lifa said that she wanted to try it once. Jinta asked what Lifa wanted, to which Lifa replied that she had been targeting it since yesterday. Lifa, with her happy face expression, showed a poster to Jinta. Jinta, who saw it, interpreted it as a lakeside house. Lifa enthusiastically said that it was really important. Hearing that this prize was gold class, however, they could not stay in the inn. Jinta, who saw Lifa's luck status was only 1, and he said that it would not come out easily. Lifa said that they would not know until they tried it properly. Lifa then begged Jinta, with her extremely cute face, and she said just once. Jinta then took out his money and gave permission to Lifa because he had also done it once. This made Lifa feel happy. Jinta called Lifa to come closer to him. He said he would share his luck. This was rejected by Lifa because Jinta must be thinking of something perverted. Lifa confidently said that she did not need the suspicious power that Jinta had, and she would show the true power of the goddess. And after 10 minutes later, it was seen that Lifa was crying because she had lost many times and she wanted to try it once more. Jinta then scolded Lifa because she had tried it 10 times and she only got rubbish. Lifa said that it was a gift, but Jinta clarified that it was rubbish. Jinta asked if Lifa was sure she was not just attracted to gacha, and just say honestly if Lifa was addicted. Lifa then said it was not like that, which was interpreted by Jinta that Lifa would not mind if he did it, and if they only wanted a house, it did not matter who pulled it. Lifa, who answered yes with a less enthusiastic face expression, this was interpreted by Jinta that Lifa was not happy with that. Jinta then understood that Lifa wanted the feeling of winning, but Lifa denied it because it was not like that. Just that, if Jinta won it. Then he would say, "This is my house, you know. This is not your house, right?" Jinta, who heard that, said that he would not say that. He then held both of Lifa's shoulders and said that he would not utter those cruel words. Lifa, who became blushing and heard if Jinta won, "Let's stay together, the two of them." After Jinta said that, he became surprised because he saw Liefa's reaction, who looked embarrassed and her face reddened. The girl shop assistant then congratulated them, which made Jinta surprised as well and said that it was not like that. The girl shop assistant then realized that Jinta was the previous customer. She said that it was brilliant beginner's luck. Jinta, who heard that it was the first for him. The girl shop assistant said trying just once was a very common step to try it for the first time. Jinta, who heard that, felt a little puzzled and perhaps annoyed too. She asked if Jinta was targeting the lakeside house prize today, which was answered yes by Jinta. He said that his goddess had been longing for that lakeside house. He then gave 1,000 ren for one try. The girl shop assistant asked if Jinta was sure. She would recommend using 10,000 ren, and beginner's luck does not come twice. This was answered by Jinta with full confidence that he would win it normally in just one try. She then understood and said good luck to Jinta, which was answered by Jinta that he would definitely win it. Lifa then supported Jinta to do his best, and Jinta said even if he did his best, the contents of the capsule would not change. One of the other girl shop assistants asked if this would be all right. If Jinta won again, then this shop would not have a main prize anymore. The girl shop assistant answered it was okay, because miracles do not happen that easily. After Jinta managed to pull out the ball, both of the girl shop assistants were silent and surprised when they saw it. Jinta, who got it, was also surprised. He apologized to Lifa because he might have pulled something else. A yellow stone came out. While Lifa was telling that Jinta had won the main prize, one of the girl assistants was surprised when she saw her colleague. Jinta, with his happy expression, said that he got this one. But the girl shop assistant became silent like a stone, which made Jinta puzzled. And the girl shop assistant then fell over, which made Jinta and Lifa surprised when they saw it, which eventually they got that lakeside house. After getting that prize, the two of them went outside to immediately see that lakeside house. Jinta, who thought that he never imagined if he would really win a house. Jinta was then called by Lifa. Lifa informed Jinta that there was an old man who would take them to the lake by horse carriage. The old man said that they were very lucky. He informed that yesterday in this plain, it was not possible to pass at all because there was a sighting of a fierce dragon named Behemoth. Jinta asked the old man if everything was all right now, which was answered by the old man that he heard that Behemoth had been successfully defeated. Jinta, who heard it, felt grateful. He then asked Lifa if she heard what the old man said, but it seemed that Lifa was not okay. Jinta then asked if Lifa was okay, which was answered by Lifa that she was fine. Lifa said that she felt dizzy because the horse carriage was vibrating like this. Jinta asked, hadn't they just left? Suddenly, the horse immediately rebelled to stop, which caused them to be surprised because of that. Jinta asked what was this. The old man wanted to inform. A group of bandits came surrounding the horse carriage and shouted at those inside to get out immediately. Jinta then came out and asked what was wrong. The bandit said that he saw Jinta winning a house during gacha. He wanted to know how Jinta did it. Jinta, who saw it, felt puzzled that it was a group of strange people. Jinta concluded that the bandit wanted him to give the house to the bandit or something like that. But the bandit said that he did not care about that lakeside house. The bandit then pointed while saying something, that he was targeting the hero's magic sword that was being carried by Jinta. Jinta then asked if the bandit knew about this sword. The bandit said, did Jinta think people would not notice it when Jinta carried it like that? Unfortunately, the bandit's eyes could not deceive himself. The bandit said that he would sell it and he would get a lot of money, a very large amount of money. Jinta, who heard that, felt that this was really annoying. A bandit who came and was seen dragging a girl. The girl was Lifa, and the bandit asked what Jinta thought about this girl. She was quite pretty, and they could have fun with this girl. The bandit then looked at Lifa and said that she looked like a very beautiful girl. The bandit then touched Lifa's chin. And he did not expect that this girl was dragged without screaming, and stated that he liked brave girls. But Jinta thought that it was not like that. It was just that Lifa was motion sick. Lifa was then dragged elsewhere, and one of the previous bandits would do something. He asked for the lakeside house key that Jinta had got. This made Jinta surprised after hearing it. The bandit said that was all the bandits needed. That lakeside house was perfect. No one would come to his house. The bandit said not to worry because the bandits would take care of that girl for Jinta. Jinta then stepped forward. He said that the worst thing, he thought he could give the bandit that sword and be done. But the bandit wanted the lakeside house too. Jinta then firmly rejected it while saying that the bandit was a fool. Hearing that, the bandit became emotional. The bandits then surrounded Jinta, and Jinta was ready to take out his magic sword from its sheath. Lifa, who saw that, became panicked and called Jinta. The bandits knew not to worry and not to be afraid of that magic sword. In fact, that magic sword was a piece of rubbish that could not even come out of its sheath. And the only valuable thing about that magic sword was because that magic sword was an antique. Jinta then pulled his magic sword from its sheath, and fire aura was seen radiating out. Jinta, who had perfectly drawn the magic sword out and with a look full of victory, he used the skill Ash. and the fire aura then enveloped his magic sword. The bandit who saw it was shocked, as well as for Leafa when she saw it. Jinta then released his slash there very strongly, while shouting that the house and also Leafa, he would not surrender all of that to the bandits. That slash then split the ground along the path of his slash. The bandit was surprised and felt lucky because he could successfully avoid such a terrifying slash. It was seen that the bandits immediately collapsed on the ground, and for a moment the bandits could not move. The bandits who were surprised did not believe that the magic sword could penetrate the ground. Jinta, who saw the reaction of the bandits, then wanted to say something. He asked what the bandit wanted, the sword and the house. Jinta stated to come here and take them. The bandits then became frightened and ran away in a hurry, leaving Jinta. Jinta, who saw it, became puzzled why the bandits suddenly fled and apologized. Jinta then sighed. He informed Leafa that this was over. Leafa, who looked like she wanted to cry there, Jinta asked what was wrong. Leafa, who earlier looked very weak, but now she made a face like that. The old man there felt grateful he was safe. Jinta asked if Leafa was scared, which was answered yes by Leafa, and did Leafa think Leafa would be helped, which was answered yes by Leafa. Jinta said no need to cry anymore, which was answered by Leafa that she was not crying. Jinta, who heard that, wondered why Leafa would not admit it. Leafa, who remembered Jinta's previous words about the house and also Leafa, he would not surrender all of that. Leafa then blushed and her face reddened, which made Jinta confused when he saw it. Leafa said it was okay and thanked Jinta. Jinta then stood up and invited Leafa to go, and they would walk slowly so that Leafa would not get sick, and Leafa said that she felt better when remembering that. After they arrived at the destination, Leafa asked if it was true that far in the forest like this there was a house. Jinta said that according to the old man from the horse carriage earlier, there should be around here. Leafa then saw that there was a house over there, and there was also a lake. They then entered the house and looked around what was inside the house. Leafa, who saw it, became happy and said that this was very beautiful. Jinta asked if Leafa liked it, which was answered by Leafa that she liked it very much. Leafa said that she had once wanted to live just once in a house like this, because being in the middle of the forest, the air was very clean. The view from the window also seemed to be beautiful. But Leafa then fell silent, which made Jinta puzzled. Jinta, when looking out that window, he said that this was a rare view, that in Japan there were no animals like this dragon. The distance to the nearest town was half a day's walk, built with 2 wooden floors, bathroom and toilet separate, and there was a dragon. Leafa was surprised because there was a dragon in that choice. The dragon then roared very loudly right in front of Leafa, which made Leafa fall over. Leafa, who felt panicked as well as scared, she told Jinta to immediately do something, which was answered yes by Jinta. Jinta then went out through the house window and would face that dragon. Seeing the status of that dragon was a fire dragon that was still a baby with level 16, Jinta felt he could defeat it because the level he had was slightly higher. Leafa then asked what Jinta's level was now, which was answered by Jinta that now he was level 18. Leafa realized that yesterday Jinta had defeated Behemoth. Jinta then drew his magic sword and said sorry. He enveloped his magic sword using fire aura. He tried as much as possible not to do it roughly because the fire dragon was still small. But Jinta could not stay silent and get eaten just like that. If the fire dragon insisted, then Jinta would. He then fell silent after seeing the fire dragon suddenly bowing before him. This made Jinta confused with what happened. He asked what was that pose. The fire dragon made a sound, but Jinta apologized because he really did not know the dragon language. The fire dragon's eyes looked calm. Jinta wondered what it meant. Jinta was then called by Leafa. Leafa asked if Jinta had lost. This made Jinta feel annoyed because that question was strange. And also casually, Leafa evacuated to the second floor. Because it was quite calm, Leafa asked how the situation was. Jinta then asked Leafa to come down and see this, which made Leafa confused. After Leafa came down, she became surprised and praised Jinta that he was amazing. Leafa said that this was the pose when a dragon submitted to its opponent. Jinta asked, really? Leafa said yes, and look at the fire dragon's face facing the ground and lying down like that. Leafa asked how Jinta tamed the fire dragon earlier, which was answered by Jinta that he really did not know. Lifa then wondered whether it was because the fire dragon saw Jinta's fire and thought it was its mother because it was a fire dragon. Jinta denied it. But he wondered why a baby dragon was in a place like this, lost or separated from its mother. Lifa, who heard a small roar from the fire dragon, she asked Jinta what about this fire dragon. For now it seemed not dangerous, which was answered correct by Jinta. And look, after being observed, this fire dragon was quite cute. Lifa, with a face full of attention, wondered how. Jinta, who already knew that Lifa wanted to keep the fire dragon, and Lifa acted like a young girl who found a stray cat. Jinta then said that they could keep it no problem until the fire dragon met its parents again. Lifa, who heard it, became happy. She then hugged the fire dragon with such joy and asked for its help from now on. But the fire dragon then moved Lifa's face away, which made Lifa silent, and Jinta said that finally their headquarters was ready. And from now on, the adventure life begins. Let's hurry, everyone. Food, clothes, headquarters, and dragon. Adventurer Jinta has no weakness.